welcome back. This isn't typically what I post because I post all my gaming videos, but every month I think I am going to do this where I rank all the games I've played and all the movies I've watched that month. So this is the first time I'll be doing that, and this will be for all of January's games and movies. So let's get into it. So the first game I played for the month of January was Tomb Raider 1, which is this one. And I liked Tomb Raider 1. It had a good story to it. It had a lot of nostalgia for me because my mom used to play it when I was younger. And I thought it was overall fun, but there was a couple issues, and it could just be because it's remastered, It was a little glitchy, and the controls were tricky because sometimes I would have to change back and forth from modern and tank controls just to play because the modern controls couldn't do what the tank controls could, which it's not that big of a deal. Overall, I think I would rank it as an A tier. Alright, next we played Cardpocalypse. It was a good story. It was a little challenging, but it was fun because I never won any of my games on there. And I thought it was overall fun, and it was story-based, which was fine. But I couldn't easily find a save point, which I thought was a little frustrating, and I haven't opened up the game again because I'm scared that all my progress is gone. But overall, I think I'd say it's a B. It was alright. It's not amazing, but it's up there. And then I played Boba Cafe Simulator. I love simulators, so that was a plus. It was fun to play, but when you do the tutorial, I don't think it was very, what are the words? It didn't tell you how to do what you needed to do, and it wasn't very clear on the instructions. And then, of course, it's a simulator, so you're playing the same day over and over and over again. But overall, I thought it was pretty fun, and I think it's also a B tier. Next, we have Peak. Peak was fun because I could play it with friends, and the map changes every day. I'm pretty sure that's what it said, which is also cool, so it's never the same thing, so you're always having a new challenge. I don't think I had any cons about that one at all, so I think I would put Peak in the A tier as well. And then we have Gambler's Table, which I will say was fun, but it's not something that you normally would make a video on because you kind of just need to let it sit there and let the coins flip to get anything out of it. So it was a little boring, but overall, I'd say probably a C. And then we have League of Legends, which I decided to try for the first time because everybody's playing it. It was alright. It's a little hard to get a hang of, but overall I think it could be fun if I could learn how to actually play. So I think it probably goes in the B tier also. Okay, next I played Egging On, which is a fighting game, and I love watching people play fighting games, but I've never really played the fighting games, so I've been playing them. I really liked it. It was frustrating hard. I got a little confused, but overall, I really liked the game, and I think it's a S tier. And then we've been playing Tomb Raider 2. We haven't quite finished it, but we're still playing it. I like the story. It has better controls than the first one, but the chapters are a little bit longer, which I wasn't expecting, and it's still a little glitchy. I can go through walls and stuff pretty easily, but overall, I think it's good, and I think it also deserves the A tier. Next, we have the World of Warcraft, but not specifically World of Warcraft housing, because that's what I've been working on, is building my house and decorating it. I love that I get to build a house. It's fun, it's new content, it's amazing, but getting items in that game sucks. It sucks so bad. And it feels like Blizzard really just wants everybody to go back to all their past expansions, and it's hard. It's also pretty glitchy. Every time I hit a wall, I get kicked out. which was a little frustrating, but most of those things will probably be fixed. So overall, I think it's an A. Then next is White Knuckle. I liked White Knuckle because it reminded me a lot of Peak, but it's more challenging and the map changes every time you die, which I got a little frustrated with it because it takes a while to get a hang of it, but once you get a hang of it, it's not that bad. Overall, I think it's probably an S. I really liked that one. Next is How Many Dudes, which I did not make a video on. I have played this on my own, but I still thought it deserved to be on here because I did play it. I like it because it's addicting. It's a roguelike, so you have to start over and stuff, and it's really challenging. And it's not easy to get to the end, which I don't think anybody has ever gotten there, but I still think it is a pretty cool game, and I think I would put it as an S. Oops, wrong one. That one. Okay. Next is The Dark Side Detective, which I played on stream. It had a funny storyline, and it was quick. And overall, it was a pretty good game, but it was a little easy, kind of repetitive, like every single level seemed kind of the same, and I got a little bored at the end and was like rushing to just finish it because I just wanted it to be over with. So overall, I think I'm putting this also at a C. So, okay. That's all the games. I will be posting these to my Instagram also if you want to see these. So, let's move on to the movies. Alright. Now, this is going to be the longest part of this video because I try to watch a movie every single night. So, I have a lot of movies that we have to go over. Some new, some old. So, let's get into it. Alright, first up on our list is Elysium. I thought it was a good bad movie. So, if you don't know what I mean by that, it's like, it's good in the fact that it's actually bad. That was a terrible explanation, I know. So, bad action movies I think are funny, and I enjoy it, and it gives me entertainment, but it's not like they're actually good. But on that, it's a fun action, of course, and it's a good story. And I really enjoyed this one. I didn't have anything I didn't really like about it. So I think I'm putting it as an A. And then next I have District 9. District 9 was a pretty good one also. It had a good story, but the only thing I have about it is I could not stay awake for it. If I fall asleep during a movie, I know that it wasn't a good movie because I fell asleep. I won't fall asleep during a movie if the movie was good. It was just basically about alien, or was it robots? Honestly, I'm having struggles even remembering what happened. So I'm putting it into a D tier. Next we have Sabotage, which I really enjoyed because it's another good bad movie. It had a good story, but it was a little predictable. I predicted what was going to happen in the beginning of the movie. But overall, it was a pretty good movie. And just so you guys know, I'm not going to get into any spoilers, so I won't be going into detail about these at all. Okay, so Sabotage is going to be in the B tier. Next, we have In the Shadow of the Moon, which was very interesting. It had a good story to it, but I felt like it dragged on a little bit too much. Like, I don't think it needed to drag on that much. Overall, it wasn't too bad of a movie. It did end up being entertaining. I feel like they could have shortened it a little bit. So, I think it deserves to be in C tier. Next is Johnny Mnemonic, which, honestly, it was a fun action movie, and it has Keanu Reeves, and I like Keanu Reeves, but it was terribly written, and it felt like it was all over the place, and it felt like I didn't understand what was going on half the time. But with that being said, I still think it's probably a C tier, because it was a little entertaining. The writing could have been better. Next, we have Code 8, which, honestly, I don't remember even watching. I know that I watched it, I turned it on, got bored, knew that the writing in it was bad, and then I fell asleep. I didn't get to the even midpoint of that movie. It was that bad. I will say that it is probably somebody's cup of tea, but it's not mine. So it's going in the F tier. Alright. And then next I watched Code 8 Part 2, which had a fine story. It was a little boring as well. It had some bad writing, but I didn't actually fall asleep to that one. And I found it a tiny bit interesting. Just a tiny bit. It was still boring because a lot of parts drag on, but yeah. I think this one goes into the D tier because it was still bad, but it wasn't as bad as the first one. Next, I watched The Rip, which honestly was a good bad action movie as well. It had a good plot twist. I didn't predict what was gonna happen, and it was actually genuinely a surprise when I got to the end. I did find it frustrating because nobody in the movie communicated well, so it seemed like you were lost the whole time. But overall, I still think it was pretty good, and I think it deserves a B tier on this one. Next, I watched Ambulance, which I believe was an alright movie. It wasn't the greatest movie I've ever seen. It had its flaws, but it had some good parts, and it was a fun, bad action movie. So, overall, I think it's probably a C. That sounds about right. So next I watched The Last Days of American Crime, which wasn't a bad movie. It was a good, bad action, and it was a story that I don't think I've ever seen in a movie before. But it still felt like some things were boring, or it dragged on, or I was just confused on why that even needed to be in the movie. But overall, it wasn't too bad, and I think I had a lot of fun with this one, so I'm going to put it as an A tier. Next, I have 28 Days Later, which I did watch 28 Weeks Later, a year ago, because I didn't know that there was one before it. So it's really weird to know that I watched them way out of order, but knowing what I know, I watched 28 Weeks Later, and it was alright. It was a good zombie movie, but I think 28 Days Later was better. It was the best one. So honestly, I had so much fun with it. It was interesting, and I loved to see the origin and everything, and I was so excited to watch it. And honestly, I think it belongs in the S tier. Next, after that, I watched 28 Years Later. So 28 Years Later was alright. I feel like 28 Days and 28 Weeks was so much better than it, because I don't know if I really felt like it needed this one, but it seemed alright. It just was a little frustrating, and I didn't understand why anything in that movie happened, and it was just a little frustrating. So honestly, I think I'd put it in I'll put it in A, because it wasn't that bad. I was still entertained by it, Next, I watched Bone Lake, which was a very interesting concept. It was a little weird, and I don't know what to really say about this one. This one was just a weird one. It didn't have the good, bad action that I usually watch, and it wasn't horror or anything. It was entertaining, at least, so I think I'll probably put it as a C, because it was alright. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't too bad. Okay, next I watched Tao. Tao, I think, was a pretty good movie. It had an interesting concept about AI and people, and how you can use people for AI, and honestly, it was a little creepy, especially with how our world is going today. So honestly, I think Tao is also an A tier. It was a pretty good movie, and it was entertaining. Next, I watched Megan 2.0, which I love the Megan 1. But Megan 2 was not as good as the first one. I don't think they needed to make Megan 2. It was a little weird and honestly a little boring because I also fell asleep during that one. And I feel like this month I have fallen asleep during so many movies when I don't normally fall asleep during movies, which is very weird. Overall, with Megan, I think it was probably about a C. It wasn't as good as the first one. I don't think it needed to be out there, but it's out there, and it was a little entertaining at first, and then I felt like it just went on for way too long. I don't think it needed to be that long. Next, I have Jung-E, which was a pretty interesting concept about, like, creating artificial intelligence, or cloning people, essentially, into robots. It is a movie that I've never seen anybody make like it before, so it makes it interesting and it makes it intriguing. And I love when people don't copy the same idea over and over and over and over again. I love seeing new things, and the acting was good, and everything about it was just overall great. And I didn't really have any issues with it. I didn't think of anything bad about it or anything. So honestly, I think I'm going to put it in the S tier. Next, we have Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls. I like Jim Carrey, and I like his movies, and I really do. But this one I did not like, because it just felt frustrating. Because I hate when people don't listen, or follow rules, or do anything, and everything he did just frustrated the hell out of me, so I was just frustrated most of the movie. It was still interesting, but I think this type of Jim Carrey movie wasn't for me. Like, his other ones are fine, they're not as frustrating, but this one was just over the top frustrating, and it bothered me. So I think I'm going to put this as a C also. Next, I watched Lara Croft Tomb Raider, the 2001 version, and overall, it was pretty good. I watched it when I was a kid, and I still like it to this day, because I like how accurate, well, semi-accurate it is to the games, so it makes me happy that they did that. And overall, I think that some of it was disconnected from the games, but with that being said, I still think it's an A. I'll go with B on that one. And then there was the Lara Croft Tomb Raider, The Cradle of Life, which I also thought was pretty good, because I also watched that when I was a kid, but I didn't remember it as much as I remembered the first one. So I did like this one more than the first one, because it felt like Tomb Raider. It felt more to the character, and I really enjoyed it, and I was happy with it. So I think this one is going to go in an A. Next is Tomb Raider, the 2018 version, which I hate more than I hate anything, because this was not Tomb Raider. I don't care what anybody tells me. I don't feel like this is a Tomb Raider. It felt very off and boring, and I hated it. I hated it so much that I didn't want to watch it all the way through, but I did, because I don't like to leave movies not watched. But I really didn't like this one, and it's going in an F. Next, I watched The End, which is an Italian horror movie about a guy in an elevator during a zombie apocalypse, which I did not mean to watch that night. I meant to watch Daylight's End, and I mixed them up in my head. So I did watch this, and I was mad the whole time, because none of it made sense, and it was a little frustrating. It had funny parts, because they used sound effects that I feel like didn't need to be used in certain ways. Like the TikTok sound, they would do that in serious situations. It was weird. Honestly, I think it's going in a D, because it was bad. Next, I did watch Daylight's End, which was worse than I even expected, because I was so excited, because I was like, oh, I mixed up the movies, let's watch the correct one. And then I watched the correct one, and I made it halfway through and never finished it. I never actually finished that one, which makes me sad, because I hate leaving movies unfinished, but it was so boring I didn't finish it. So it deserves to be an F also. If there was a tier under F, I'd put it there, but we're stopping at F. Next, I watched the Five Nights at Freddy's. I had seen the first one, but so I started watching the second one, and then I realized that I didn't remember the first one enough, so I had to go back and watch the first one before I could watch the second one. And honestly, the first one is good. I think it's entertaining. I think it has a good story. I think it was fun, and I think it deserves to be in the A tier. And then we go to the second one, and I didn't like the second one as much as I liked the first one. I mean, they're both bad movies. I know that they're not the greatest movies, but I'm going off of how much they entertain me. And the second one, I feel like was also unneeded. I don't know why companies keep trying to make second movies to movies that don't need a second movie. And honestly, I think it deserves to be in the C tier because it wasn't that good. Alright, next I watched Overlord, which was not a bad movie. I like horror movies, of course, but I hate war movies, and like the first half of it was just like a war movie, and I got a little bored of it, and then the fun stuff started happening, and then it just kind of felt boring. It was supposed to be a zombie movie, but there were like no zombies in it. I don't understand how you can classify it as a horror if there's like no zombies. There was no scare factor. There was nothing. So honestly, I think it's gonna go in the D tier because it just wasn't that good. And then Black Phone 2, which I just watched also, right? I remember the first one a little bit. I don't remember it too much, but that's not a problem. But I found the second one a little frustrating. It felt like nobody listened in the movie, and the first one was so much better. Because I feel like I don't know what was going on in this movie. Because everybody was saying different things and doing different things. And like, I am going to put one little spoiler in there because I am frustrated. If your sister sleepwalks, don't tell them that you can let her sleep in a different cabin because she sleepwalks and will go outside. It's like you could have stayed in the boys' cabin. You didn't have to be alone. All you had to do was tell them, hey, I sleepwalk and I need somebody to watch me. It was just a little frustrating, and it felt like nobody was talking to each other or listening, and I don't know. But overall, it was still entertaining, and I'm going to put it in the C tier. And that was all the movies that I have watched this month, and I will be keeping a list for next month, or this current month, that I will be posting in March. And yeah, I'm going to post these on Instagram, and I'm going to ask you guys to tell me what you guys think of these movies, if you would like to. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this style of video. I'll be posting one every month, probably around the 1st, maybe a little later into the month, but not too late into the month. And yeah, if you liked it, give me a like, and if you want, subscribe to see my gaming videos and more of these types of videos. And yeah, bye!